Hey, friends, before we jump into today's episode, I want to let you know about something special that I'm offering this summer. If you're a Christian therapist in private practice who's craving more support, connection, and accountability in your business, my summer connection and consultation series was created for you. This is a space where you can come as you are, get practical guidance for your practice, ask questions, process challenges, and connect with other faith based therapists who truly understand the journey. Whether you're feeling stuck, isolated, overwhelmed, or simply wanting fresh momentum this summer, you don't have to do this alone. We'll be gathering for supportive consultation, honest conversations, encouragement, and practical strategy to help you grow a practice that feels sustainable and aligned with the life that God is calling you to build. If that sounds like something your heart and business could use right now, you can learn more at the link in the show notes. I'd absolutely love to have you join us this summer. Have you ever had a client ask you those personal questions that just catch you off guard and you're unsure how to respond? Then today's episode is for you. I tell you how I handle self disclosure and what things you should consider when a client is asking you personal questions to help you feel more equipped in how to respond in a way that is protecting your own boundaries, but also supporting the client. Hey, Christian therapist, are you craving a counseling career that aligns with your faith and actually supports your well being? Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm Kimberly Van Hooser, Christian therapist, private practice owner, and business coach for mental health professionals like you. In this podcast, you'll get practical strategies and faith led guidance to help you build a thriving private practice, one that serves your clients well and makes an impact for the kingdom of God. So, what are you waiting for? Grab your notebook and join me for today's episode. Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Van Hooser. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Colorado, Arizona, and California. And I'm also a business coach and mentor for mental health professionals who are wanting to start and grow their private practice in a way that aligns with their God given purpose. Today's episode is all about what to do when your clients or prospective clients ask you personal questions. I'm sure many of you listening can relate where you've had a client ask you a question that just comes out of the blue. It catches you off guard, whether it be about how old you are, if you're married, where you live, what your own past experience is with personal trauma. It's bound to happen in this work. After all, we get to ask our clients tons of personal questions. And it's important to know the best way to respond in a way that will protect the therapeutic relationship. And that means that we are respecting what it is that our clients are needing by asking those questions. But it also means that we respect ourselves without feeling like we have to violate or overshare information that our clients don't really need to know about us. But how do we do that in a way that is tactful and respectful while also honoring our boundaries? And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you how you can figure out what the best approach or response is for your clients. First of all, I think it's really important for every clinician to take time and think about what their boundaries are concerning self disclosure. What do you feel like is off limits for clients? And then what is information that you really don't mind letting your clients know about if they ask? And this could change based on the client as well. Whenever we use self disclosure, we want to be thinking about the impact it could have on the client that we're working with. Over time, you naturally develop a deeper relationship with clients as you work with them. So it might not feel quite as weird or uncomfortable to let them know certain details about your life than it would be for a prospective client that you're doing a phone consultation with. But regardless of how long you've known your client, it's important to make sure that self disclosure is appropriate for that client at that time, which we'll get into in a little bit. But coming back to knowing what your boundaries are. So, what personal information needs to be kept to yourself? As a general rule of thumb, I think it's important to not share things like your home address with clients. I generally think it's good to not share what church you go to or what gym you go to, unless there's a good clinical reason for disclosing that. Our clients don't need to know personal information about us where they could come find us in our everyday life. You can also think about what information are you actually okay sharing with clients. I know when I was in grad school, a lot of us were taught like never ever self disclose. If a client asks you your age, this is how you can redirect them. You don't need to give an answer. And honestly, I don't agree with all of that. Probably better to err on the side of I share less personal information with my clients than too much. But also, I'm human and I want my clients to feel like they can relate to me as well. So if a client asks me something like my age or my marital status, if I like pizza or horses, That's all stuff that I think is generally speaking not inappropriate to share with clients. Things like age, marital status, and my preference for my favorite type of food, that's all relatively surface level. And honestly, many people can find out about it pretty easily. But then I have had clients ask me things about my own personal experience with anxiety. I've had them ask me things about my own personal testimony of how I came to know the Lord or why I want to be a therapist. And that is all stuff that's a little bit deeper, it's more personal. So that's where it might be a little bit harder to figure out, is this appropriate to share and what amount of information do I share? But in general, it's always good to sit down and think about, what are the things that I need to keep to myself or would prefer to keep to myself? And what are things that maybe I don't need to worry about so much if a client were to ask me? Because then you'll be better prepared when you get those questions with how to respond. Now, here are some questions that I think are important to stop and ask yourself whenever you get a personal question from a client. The first question is to ask yourself, does this feel intrusive or unsafe for me to answer? And if the answer is yes, then you don't need to share that information. Maybe think about some appropriate responses where you can politely decline to give that information and even a reason why you're choosing to keep that to yourself. Another really important question to ask yourself is, what is the client trying to learn through this question? And that's going to give you an idea of how to respond. Let's just say I have a client ask me, what's your home address? Generally speaking, I don't think it's appropriate for my clients to know my personal address. But I want to pause and ask myself, why is my client asking me this question? Do they have stalker tendencies? Are they being creepy? Or is it one of my clients who wants to send me a Christmas card and they're being thoughtful? Now, regardless of which client it is, I'm not going to give them my personal address, but it's going to change how I respond. Most of the time, I end up responding to requests for personal information with another question. I'll say something like, can you tell me why it is that you need my personal address? Just ask them what their reasoning is behind it. That gives them a chance to share, and then you can respond appropriately. Now, if I ask the other client, tell me why you want my personal address. Oh, it's because I'm wondering if we're neighbors because I saw you the other day walking through my neighborhood. That might open up a doorway for, oh, how did that feel to know that I'm going walking in your neighborhood? How would you like me to respond if I ever run into you? So always make sure you're pausing. Don't just be quick to answer the question because you don't know what to say. Ask the client a question in return. And I feel like in general, I don't struggle so much with knowing how to respond with my clients that I've been working with for some time because I usually have a sense of what it is that they're wanting or needing from the question they're asking. It's a lot more difficult to know how to respond when you're on an initial phone consultation with someone that you've never spoken to before, or when you have a client who's coming in for their very first session. So I think it's important to take time to address that as well. Usually, if someone is doing a phone consultation with you or they're in a first session and they're asking these personal questions, it's because they want to make sure that you are a good fit for them. Usually, they're looking for one of three things. They're wanting to know that they can relate to you. They want to know that you have the experience to be able to help them. And they want to know that you share values that are important to them that their therapist shares. Whenever I get questions like, what church do you go to? What denomination are you affiliated with? Can you tell me your personal testimony? What are your political views? Those are generally questions where clients are wanting to know what my values are. If they're asking about my age, they're probably wanting to know if I am someone that they feel like they can relate to, or they're wanting to assess if I've had enough lived experience in order to be able to help them. Now, I went to grad school immediately following my undergraduate graduation. So I was 22 years old when I started working with my first clients, and I also looked young for my age. So I got the age question a lot. Sometimes it's because parents wanted to know that I could relate to their teenager that they were bringing to therapy. And so they liked the fact that I was so young. But more often than not, it was people wondering, can this kid help me? And honestly, I didn't feel like I should hide my age from my clients. I wanted to be upfront with that, but I would usually follow it up with some sort of question like, so I'm 24 years old. How does that feel for you? And I would get an idea if that was something they were comfortable with or not. If it was, "Oh, I just want to know that you have enough experience to help me," then I could share with them, I know that I'm young. I have just recently graduated with my graduate degree. I have this many hours of work done. And these are the areas where I've worked before. So I do have experience to help you. However, if you're looking for someone who's a little bit more seasoned, I completely understand. Now, if they're asking things like, do you have children? Are you married? Once more, that's usually a client wanting to know if you can relate to them or do you have enough life experience to be able to know how to help them. I think it's important as therapists that we're really aware of anywhere where we feel a little insecure about some of these answers. So I did struggle with a lot of insecurity about my age when I was in my 20s. I worried that a lot of people wouldn't want to come see me because I was so young. And the strangest thing was that once I turned 30, for whatever reason, people stopped asking about my age. It wasn't that they actually knew that I was 30, but I think there was a shift in my confidence level when I crossed over from 29 to 30, where I was like, hey, now I have life experience. Now I'm qualified to help people. When in reality, I had the ability to help people in my 20s as well, too. So I encourage you to pay attention to where you might feel insecure or unqualified because maybe you're unmarried or maybe you don't have children. But that doesn't mean that you don't know how to help people have healthy relationships. Sometimes it's even more powerful because your own stuff isn't getting in the way. I wasn't married until I was 36 years old, and I'm still pretty fresh into the married life. So just because I've been married for a year and a half does not mean that I am now uber qualified to speak into people's marriages, more so than I was when I was unmarried. Just because a therapist is married does not mean that they have a healthy marriage. I've never had anyone ask me, are you married and is your marriage healthy? They just ask, are you married? Do you know how to help people have healthy marriages and strong communication skills? Sometimes you will have prospective clients who are searching for a therapist who meets certain criteria that is important to them. And you might not meet that criteria. And I just want to encourage you and say that is okay. Recognize that even if you don't meet certain criteria for a prospective client, that you still have skills and abilities to help people. And not every client is going to be for you. So be at peace and trust God that you can let those clients go and that there will be more that come to you where you're going to be a really good fit and get some really good work done. Okay, so let's take a moment and just kind of summarize what's been shared today. I want you all to be thinking about self disclosure. What are you willing and comfortable sharing with clients? And then what do you need to make sure that you kind of keep off limits? So when a client asks, you don't just share it out of fear or anxiety or not knowing what to say. Always consider whether or not self disclosure is going to cause harm to the client or benefit the client's therapy. And I think the most important question is wondering what is the client trying to learn from this question that they're asking me? What does it mean to them? That's going to help you know the best way to answer and to do so in a way that doesn't feel intrusive or invasive to yourself. Know your boundaries, know what you're willing and comfortable sharing. And if you're someone who's super comfortable in a super open book, maybe you need to reel it in a little bit because therapy shouldn't be about you. You don't want to detract from the client's therapy. Sometimes clients will ask personal questions as a way to detract or sidetrack from having to share about themselves. So we want to be aware and cognizant of that as well. So I hope this episode has been helpful for some of you in thinking a little bit more of how to respond when a client asks you something personal. I would be curious to hear from you what kind of personal questions you have received from clients and how you responded. So feel free to share that with me, obviously protecting confidentiality of your clients, but I'd love to hear from you. You can shoot me an email or join my Facebook group and share it in the community. That would be an interesting point of discussion. I would love to have you join me for my summer connection and consultation series that is starting on June 10th. I will leave the information for how to register for that in the show notes below. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you found value in today's episode, would you leave a written review on Apple Podcasts? It helps other faith-led clinicians like you find the show. And don't forget to join my free Facebook community, Start and Grow Your Private Practice as a Christian Therapist, where you'll join other clinicians for encouragement, accountability, and free tips and support. See you there.